Hello, sixth grade, and welcome to my first official video debut on economic systems. So economic systems are how the government influences how countries make money. Economics is a study of how people meet their wants and their needs. Economic systems is a method used by society to produce and distribute goods and services. In other words, it's basically how the government tells us what we can get and how to get it. There's three basic economic questions. What goods and services should be produced, how the goods and services should be produced, and who consumes these goods and services. Each economic system answers these questions in a different way. So if you look at the chart below, you'll see the needs we have versus the wants we have. We need water, we need shelter. We may want a soda, or we may want a good pair of sneakers, but we don't have to have them. Goods are things that are used, so scissors or a lawnmower. Services are things that people provide, hairdressing or lawn services in order to get your lawn mowed. There are four basic types of economic systems. There's the traditional economy, there's a command economy, market economy, and mixed economy. There's four. So in a traditional economy, the economic questions are answered by habits and customs. This is the way it's always been done. This is how we used to do it. This is how our ancestors do it. This is how my parents did it. My grandparents did it. It's usually where children work the same jobs that the parents worked. Typically, it's with farming and hunting, gathering. And in a traditional economy, people fear change. They worry that we can't do something new and different. We have to do it the way it's always been done. So take a look at the different pictures and illustrations. Here we have in 1929 selling some apples, 5 cents. Today, still selling apples at 5 cents because it's the way we've always done it, but now they're just organic. We also have down here a picture of an Inuit of northern Canada, and they're one of the few communities that still has a traditional economy. A command economy is very different. This is where the government answers the basic economic questions. The advantages, there's both advantages and disadvantages, but the good things about it is that the government's able to act quickly in the emergencies. They are able to provide for all people equally, so it's fair. The disadvantages, or the not so good things, is that it's inefficient. There's no incentive to work hard or be creative because it doesn't matter how hard you work because you're still going to get what everybody else gets. So some examples of command economies are communist countries. So Vietnam, North Korea, the former Soviet Union, Cuba, those are examples that have command economies. We also have free market economies. In a free market economy, the economic questions are answered by individual buyers and sellers. Supply and demand influences the economy. So if we need something and we need something badly, we might see a rise in the cost of that. Or if we have a lot of something available to us, the cost might go down. A lot of times we see supply and demand, typically with gas or oil prices. People in a free market economy, they act out of self-interest. Their motive for profit drives the economy. They always want to do better. They want to make more money, or they want to make something that is... Sorry for that short interruption. I just got distracted by the announcement over the loudspeaker. Where were we? We were talking about free market economy. I left off talking about how people act out of self-interest in a free market economy. Money is driving the economy. It's also known as free enterprise or capitalism. The last economic type or economic category is called a mixed economy. It's a combination of a little of everything. So the economic questions in a mixed economy are answered by both the individual buyers and sellers as well as the government. It's a combination of both government and people working together. Most societies in the world have mixed economies. A mixed economy combines the elements of a traditional market and command economic system. In the United States and Australia, we are mixed economies, but we're very close to free market because we have a lot of options and we have a lot of choices. Now let's look at this chart. We have the features of mixed economy in the United States. Now remember, in the last slide, I said it's a combination. It has some command characteristics. It has some free market. It also has some traditional. But let's just take a look right now at the free market characteristics in the United States and the command characteristics. In this chart, the free market characteristics show that in the United States, we have economic freedom. We have the right to choose. We have competition. More than one producer of goods and services ensures choice. I can go and I can get a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. I could get a coffee at Starbucks. I could get a coffee at McDonald's. There are many options for me. Private property is also a characteristic of a free market economy within the United States. I can buy my own property and that is mine, is not owned by the government. Self-interest, where I make decisions based on what is best for me, best for my family, or best for my business. And finally, a profit motive. I'm driven, or individuals are driven, by a desire to make money. The command characteristics in the United States are that government regulation of some business practices, where we have the government set minimum wage. They set labor hours so that we're not overworking people. There are certain safety practices, so at a restaurant there are certain codes and regulations people have to follow. Government also provides aid to people who are needy. Medicaid, Medicare, and welfare are all examples of these. And the government limits certain choices. So there are certain things that us as U.S. citizens cannot buy and produce because the government has created a law. Now let's look at a pizza restaurant. If I created and wanted to bring my pizza business, Wildcat Pizzeria, and bring it to an economic system, what would be best for me? What would be best for my pizzeria? So I'm going to look at different economic systems and see where I think I should open up my business. So first, let's look at a free market economy. If I did that, we would answer the basic economic questions. We would determine how much cheese and pepperoni goes on the pizza. Doesn't matter if it's a lot or a little, we determine that. We determine the quality of the cheese and pepperoni. Doesn't matter if it's great quality or very poor quality, because that's my choice. We set the employee wages. It doesn't matter if I pay somebody $15 an hour or 50 cents an hour. That's my choice. And we set our business hours. So I could be open at 5 in the morning. I could be open at 2 in the afternoon. It doesn't really matter. It's my choice. So you can see in Wildcat Pizzeria, if I opened it in a free market economy, I make my own choices and I pretty much do as I please. There are no restrictions. If I opened up my pizzeria in a command economy, the government would answer the basic economic questions. The government would determine how much cheese and pepperoni goes on each pizza. The government would determine the quality of the cheese and pepperoni. The government would tell me how much I have to pay my employees. It doesn't matter if they're the best employee or the worst employee, always coming in late and not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It doesn't matter because the government would tell me how much to pay them. And also the government would set my business hours. So even though I know that people really love pizza around 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, if the government tells me I can't open my pizzeria at 10 o'clock on a Friday, then I can't do it. I don't have that choice. So what do you think the government even knows about pizza? Think about that. Finally, there's the Wildcat Pizzeria. If I opened it in a mixed economy, we and the government would answer the basic economic questions. We, as business owners, would determine the amount of cheese and pepperoni that goes on the pizzas, but the government would decide on the quality of the cheese and pepperoni to make sure that the people are not getting sick. We would set the employee wages, but the government would set a minimum wage for the employees. And we would determine the business hours, but the government would determine whether I'm safe to open or not. So the government has a say while still giving me choices of a pizzeria. So think about which one would be best for you, and thank you for listening.